Just an hour or so away from loading up and heading to LAX. All excited, all packed?
Packed, getting nervous about the flight. My anxiety on getting on an airplane, a tuna fish box. Yeah, not tuna fish, whatever.
Well, my dear, I share your sentiment. Hopefully we make it through the night.
Sure we will. Dinner, the last American meal.
A Marie Callender's pot pie.
Yeah.
Always good in a pinch. Getting packed. This is pretty much what I'm taking. So this is 3 weeks in Ireland. I hope I can make it work. Time to head for the airport. I hope I'm looking stylishly Irish. We're heading to the airport.
Yes, we are.
Todd and Lisa giving us a ride. Hi, sweetheart.
Hello.
Hello, Todd. Walking through the airport, looking for some place to eat. Here's Jackie eating her mystery meal. Looks like Ireland below. Scattered clouds. Looks like it might be a bit of a sunny day. Getting ready to land in Dublin. Coming in for a landing. Touchdown. We took the bus into town and walked around and checked out the sights in the city. We got a little hungry, so we found our way to the Temple Bar District, found a restaurant called the Smoke and Bones Barbecue. Fantastic ribs. And I finally got to have my first Guinness. Good night for now. The next morning, we had a quick breakfast and toured a little bit of the city on our way to the Guinness Storehouse. Once inside, we had to replicate the picture that Tabitha and Rex had taken with the angel flag as we continued to tour the facility. Finally got to do our taste test, which was yummy. And of course we had to replicate holding up the Guinness girder, just as Rex had. After laughing at the fish sculpture, we climbed to the top of the storehouse and had a nice view of the city of Dublin. Once outside and walking around the city, Jackie found all kinds of fun stuff. St. Patrick's Cathedral, walked by the graveyard there, and Jackie, being her, just decided that she would just walk along and do her own little exploring. We wind up at a city park, walked around there for a while, took some photos, and walked through and checked out the little lake with the ducks and pigeons and all the goings on there. We wound up at O'Donoghue's Pub, where we wanted to replicate the dollar bill that Rex and Tabitha had put up with our name. After meeting some nice people there, we wandered the streets some more, found some street musicians, went into a mall to buy some gloves for Jackie, and wound up walking through Trinity College before we had dinner at Key's Restaurant. The food was yummy. Day 3 started with us going to the rental car place and renting our Volkswagen and driving to Kilkenny.
This is on our way out of town to Kilkenny, or Kilkenny.
Kilkenny, yes.
But don't kill him.
Watch the field behind the plow.
And here's Fred
Down the
again.
straight dark roads. Feel the trickle in.
The road signs were interesting because they were half in Gaelic.
The tractor's steady roar. Ah, you can't stop now. There's a quarter section.
Fred said this reminds him of Maine. It's very pretty and there's no traffic, barely any traffic anyway. We are now in Kilkenny and we're trying to find our way to our B&B.
We arrived at the Fanad house and got settled in.
This is a tour of our room. It's the Fanad house, I believe is how you pronounce it. Fanad, there's Fred. Trying to get stuff out of the way while I videotape, but it's a little too late for that, but that's okay. And here's our bathroom, which is really nice.
We took a walk across the street through a hole in the stone wall and could not believe what we discovered there. We had no idea that it was there. But lo and behold, we walked through the park and there was Kilkenny Castle. Unbelievably beautiful. And we got to tour the mansion. Quite a bit of interesting old decor. Great views from the windows of the back and the courtyard, and came upon the art gallery.
There goes Fred down the, what is it called? The Moorish staircase.
We took a walk outside and checked out the views from the castle walk. Found our way to the front. Jackie sat in front of the fountain. From there we wandered into town, walked around for a little bit, checked out the scenes, and wound up at the Paris, Texas bar and restaurant, where Jackie even tried a little bit of Guinness.
Yum.
Back outside, we walked through the streets some more, checked out the people and the scenes, and found a little river walk that led us back along the castle wall, back towards our B&B. The scenery was gorgeous. We encountered a couple dogs along the way. It was so pastoral, but it was time to head back. We knew we were safe because we had a lifesaver to save us if one of us fell in the river. We started the next morning off with a good hearty Irish breakfast. From there, we decided to go to the edge of town and visit St. Canice's Cathedral. Jackie loves her churches. They had a tower there you could climb. I looked inside, but the ladder seemed a bit rickety. I chickened out and didn't want to wind up in the boneyard. So we walked through town back to the B&B because it was time to leave Kilkenny. Did a little clowning around on the way. Now it's time to hit the road to Waterford.
This is us coming into Waterford. I guess this is why it's called Waterford. There's water.
We arrived at our B&B, checked out the beautiful scenery there. Jackie had to take a picture of me taking pictures.
Okay, here we are at Samuel's Heritage House Breakfast, Bed and Breakfast.
Found me a spot to sit and relax and have a cigar. We found a nice beach to check out. It was a bit rainy, but it was fun to look at. Drove back into town and checked out another church. went to lunch at the Ginger Man Bar. Once outside, we found a little more clowning around to do. And then wound up at the Waterford factory where we checked out all the crystal. Next was a walk into town, checking out the waterfront. Then it was time to get back to the B&B and enjoy our pretty vase of flowers. Good night, all. We're staying in town for another day, so we decided that after breakfast that we would do a road trip to some of the local sites. We headed up the road to Deer Point Abbey. Deer Point Abbey is a Cistercian monastery and nunnery founded in the year of our Lord 1180. It functioned until 1541. It is now a national monument.
Intended no harm, we just meant to pass by, the day being pleasant and charming. What says he, me fine fellows, if you will enlist, it's 10 guineas in gold I will slip in your fist, and a crown in the bargain for to kick up the dust and drink the king's health in the morning. For a soldier he leads a very fine life, and he always is blessed with a charming young wife, while other poor fellows of sorrow and strife and sup on thin gruel in the morning. What says Arthur, I wouldn't be proud of your clothes, for you only lend out them now, as I suppose, and you dare not change them one night if you dare, for you know you'll be flogged in the morning. And we have no desire to take your advance, for all of the dangers we'd not take the chance that you'd have no scruples and send us to France, where you know we'd be shot in the morning.
Having not seen enough ruins, we decided to check out Kells Priory. Kells Priory is one of the largest medieval monuments in Ireland. This monastery was established in 1193 and functioned until 1540. There was a loop walk around it about 2 miles long that Jackie and I took. Enjoyed very much the scenery along the way.
And into your bodies of strength will afford, so now me young devils take warning. But Arthur and I,
We came upon an old mill.
and we scarce give them time for to draw their own blades. With our trusty shillelaghs we bashed in their heads.
As we continued to walk, we ran into some of the wildlife and came across a little town and did a little bit of clowning around.
Okay, this is on our drive back from Kells Priory. Now we're heading back to the city, and we're going to go to the Japanese gardens.
And a little wee drummer we flapped in his pouch, and we made a football of his round.
We're coming into the town of Traymore, which is where the Japanese gardens are. Well, there's the ocean down there. There's another tower of some sort.
Before hitting the gardens, we decided it'd be best if we ate lunch first so we wouldn't be hungry inside, and then found our way to the Japanese gardens.
Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
marveled at all the beauty around us. It was a good stop. When we were done, we headed back to the B&B to freshen up so we could go out and do a night on the town. Good night for now. This is our last day in Waterford. We're going to hit the road and head on out to the Rock of Cashel.
Some more scenery. We're on our way to the Rock of Cashel or Cashel. This is Cashel. We're trying to find the rock.
Left in 150 meters and continue to follow Main Street and turn left again immediately.
She told us that before.
According to local legends, the Rock of Cashel originated in the Devil's Bit, a mountain 20 miles north of Cashel, when St. Patrick banished Satan from a cave, resulting in the rock's landing in Cashel. Cashel is reputed to be the site of the conversion of the King of Munster by St. Patrick in the 5th century. The Rock of Cashel was the traditional seat of the Kings of Munster for several hundred years prior to the Norman invasion. In 1101, the King of Munster donated his fortress on the rock to the church. The picturesque complex has a character of its own and is one of the most remarkable collections of Celtic art and medieval architecture to be found anywhere in Europe. Few remnants of the early structure survive. The majority of buildings on the current site date from the 12th and 13th centuries. A quick walk down the hill takes us to Free Hands Bar, where we had a nice lunch. And then it was time to say goodbye to Rock of Cashel and head on down to our destination, Kinsale.
Seems like we've run into a bit of traffic. We're going through Cork right now. Well, actually, we're on the outskirts of it. Look at that, it's only $1.52 a gallon.
Back on the road again, we find ourselves at the Kilcatton Lodge and B&B just outside of Kinsale. Beautiful, picturesque area. Gorgeous scenery. Now we're just waiting for our yummy breakfast in the morning. Good night for now. Day 7 started off with breakfast with a begging dog. Then it was time to hit the road for Cobh.
Well, we're leaving Kilcatton B&B. We're on our way to the Titanic experience. The sun is out today, which is amazing.
Orders from the captain, get you ready quick and soon, for the pikes must be together by the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon.
The Titanic experience in Cobh is a permanent visitor center located in the original White Star Line ticket office in the center of Cobh, formerly known as Queenstown, and what was the departure point for the final 123 passengers who boarded the Titanic before its tragic end. Park here.
We said the streets of San Francisco baloney.
Yeah. We toured the museum there and learned quite a bit about the Titanic that we were not aware of.
By the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon.
Afterwards, we walked outside, walked along the waterfront, checking out the scenes there. and checked out scenes from the rest of the town. We got a little thirsty, so we discovered Kelly's Bar and got to experience some live Irish music. I had to enjoy my Guinness outside on the steps because the bar was full of passengers from a cruise ship that was docked there. Next, we walked up the hill to check out the scenery from up there. Soon we were on our way back on the road to the town of Kenmare, which would be our final destination for the day.
Going through another town called Macroon. Just another town along the way. This is on our way to Kenmare. We should be there pretty soon.
We arrived at the Golf Course View Bed and Breakfast, and boy were we surprised by the view. There was in fact a golf course in the backyard. Next we went into town by foot, it was only a few blocks, and checked out the scenes in Kenmare, and wound up at a place called the Stone Circle. Stone circles were built during the Bronze Age, 2200 to 500 BC, believed to be for ritual and ceremonial purposes. There were 2 fairy trees there. You were obliged to write a good message for the world and tie it to a tree branch. A short walk back into town took us to the Coachman's Restaurant, where we enjoyed a delicious dinner.
Here we are on the ferry trail going to the lake, I believe, in Kenmare.
A little stroll along the golf course eventually brought us back to our B&B, where we discovered a nice old ruined church just across the street. Finally back at the B&B, we had to take one final stroll through the golf course. It was beautiful. But you know what? We ain't seen nothing yet. Good night for now.
Oh, land of love, we bless thee.
Well, today promises to be sunny and nice. We're heading out to Waterville, out on the Ring of Kerry. It promises to be a scenic drive. I hope it doesn't disappoint. After exploring a dirt road that led to nowhere, we got back on the highway.
This is the town of Sneem. It's another little village.
Sneem was an unexpected stop, but it looked like a cool place to take a little rest from driving. And hey, I got to meet one of the local heroes. We walked around a little bit and really enjoyed the scenery.
There's Fred rocking through a path to who knows where. We're in Sneem, Ireland now.
Back on the road again. Once again, we were in awe of the beautiful scenery that surrounded us.
As in our darkest night, no more shall we.
There was even a cool little beach there.
All Ireland's children.
We planned to stop at Derrynane Beach, but I turned off the highway one turn too soon. It actually was serendipity because we discovered a really cool road that led to a really secluded cove.
The sun. One heart, one soul, one land by love united, where we shall live in peace until this work be done.
Jackie really wanted to try her hand at driving the car, so this seemed like as good a place as any. We got back on the highway and found the correct turn to take us to Darien Beach, and there was a sign right along the way that told me I was in the right spot. Once there, we were blown away by how beautiful this beach was and how popular it seemed to be.
One God shall reign in hearts his flame has light.
There was an old house there that we did not tour, but it sure was beautiful from the outside. Back on the road, we were treated to some of the most spectacular scenery that we had seen yet. I'll let the video speak for itself.
By love united, where we shall live in peace until this work be done.
Here's some more boring scenery.
One God shall reign.
Now we're coming into another village called Waterville. Not sure what's here, but it's.
He shall lead
We're going to park right here.
We're going to park right here and we're going to walk.
And walk we did, down the boardwalk, a shoreside park in a beautiful town. I was treated to the most exciting foot race I've seen since Andrea was in grade school. We then drove back to Kenmare, where we stayed at a new bed and breakfast called the Druid Lodge, complete with a stone wall bedroom and a beautiful dining room. A short walk back into town brought us to O'Donovan's Bar and Restaurant, where we had a delicious dinner and thought about our plans to drive to Dingle tomorrow. Can't wait. After breakfast, we left Kenmare on our way to Dingle by way of Killarney.
Always see the town.
We stopped at a pullout so that we could go enjoy Ladies' View.
So well, where our schools played ball by the gas yard wall, and we laughed through the smoke and the smell. Going home in the rain.
Well, we're on the road to Killarney.
Running up the dark lane, past the jail and down behind the fountain.
We stopped again at another beautiful spot where there was a lake and some beautiful scenery. Next, we stopped at Killarney National Park.
In the town I loved so.
Here we are at the Killarney National Park heading up to the waterfall.
The early morning, the shirt factory horn calls women from Craigan while the men on the dole played a marvelous role, fed the children and then walked the dog.
There were some very steep steps just beyond the waterfall. We walked up the trail and found a beautiful place to take a photograph.
But they saw
Just down the road from the waterfall, we stumbled upon the Muckrosh house. We took a short tour inside the mansion. There was a giant billiard table there and a very old-fashioned kitchen.
for the town.
Once outside, we decided to tour the grounds. With 65 rooms, it was built in the Tudor style. Extensive improvements were undertaken in the 1850s in preparation for the visit of Queen Victoria in 1861. It is said that these improvements for the Queen's visit were a contributory factor in the financial difficulties suffered by the Herbert family, which resulted in the sale of the estate. Our next visit was to Ross Castle, which is located just outside the town of Killarney on Ross Road. Originally the home of an Irish chieftain, Ross Castle Killarney was probably built in the late 15th century. The castle is a typical example of the stronghold of an Irish chieftain during the Middle Ages. It is reputed to be one of the last strongholds of significance to fall to Cromwell's forces. Next, we hopped into the car and hightailed it to our final destination of the day, Dingle.
About life, and I found me a wife in the town I loved so well.
Oh, look at that.
But when
The views driving along the southern end of the Dingle Peninsula were spectacular.
burned to see how a town could be brought to its knees by the armored car.
Just some more boring scenery. Oh, I'm so sorry that we have to put up with this.
And the gas that hangs on to every breeze.
We are coming into the city.
We arrived at the Baywatch B&B and checked into our quaint little room. We had dinner at the Marina Inn, where Jackie enjoyed some delicious roast beef and mashed potatoes. A quick walk out to the docks of this quaint fishing village brought an end to our day. See you tomorrow.
Here we are on our way to the Dingle, where are we going? Dingle Peninsula?
We have been so close together.
There's the sun shining through.
Each a flame. All the dangers were outside us,
Cows.
and we knew them all by name.
This road will take us to Dunmore Head, which is the most western point in all of Europe.
Love grows.
We stopped at the Famine House, where Jackie was able to make a few friends. Between 1845 and 1852, Ireland suffered a period of starvation, disease, and emigration that became known as the Great Famine. The main cause was a disease which affected the potato crop, upon which a third of Ireland's population was dependent for food.
See how the bramble and the rose.
This old house was a representation of what life was like for people of the times.
Love grows.
Off we go again on the road to Dunmore Head.
Often cruel and often kind.
There was a trail from the parking lot that led you up the steep hill to get a beautiful view of the Blasket Islands. The winds were howling and made it impossible for me to wear a hat. I hope I didn't scare anybody. Of course, I had to hike down to the most westerly point because it was there. There was an old stone lookout at the top of the hill. Of course, we had to stop there for a photo op. We stumbled back down the hill and had to climb over a stone wall that was a little bit tricky. Of course, I had to hike down to the beach where scenes from The Last Jedi was filmed.
Leaving Slayhead and we're on our way back to Dingle.
Back in town, we had to have lunch at Dano's. Nice food. Great atmosphere. We spent the rest of the afternoon just walking around town and checking out all the sights. I was once again reminded why I like Guinness. As the day wound to an end, we made our plans for our trip to the Cliffs of Moher and then on to Galway tomorrow. Good night for now. After breakfast, we packed up the car and said goodbye to Dingle and Tom, our consummate B&B host. Time to hit the road for Galway by way of the Cliffs of Moher.
It's raining, but it's green.
And all the harm that e'er I've done.
We stopped at a scenic turnout and thought it would be fun to take pictures of each other.
And all I've done for want of wit to memory now.
Rare sight, we actually have a 4-lane highway here.
So
This town is called Listowel, Listowel, I believe.
Our next stop will be the ferry boat.
We have to take a ferry to get across.
all the comrades that e'er I had are sorry.
I think this was the closest thing to cruising that Jackie would ever want to do.
And all the sweethearts that e'er I had would wish me one more day to stay.
We drove off the ferry and headed toward the Cliffs of Moher.
Okay, this is Kilrush.
My lot that I should rise and you should not.
Here's a video of a golf course.
I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be with you all. If I had not
Cliffs of Moher, we have arrived. The weather wasn't perfect, but the sights sure were. We headed down the trail to the right, hoping to catch some gorgeous views. Once again, I found myself at the very edge. Why not? Time to trudge back up the hill. It was time to replicate the photo that Tabitha and Rex had taken back in February. Saying goodbye to the cliffs, we headed on up to our final destination for the day, Galway. Somehow our GPS led us the wrong way down the garden path. We were soon corrected. We eventually found our way to our B&B in Galway. Dinner at Donnelly's, and it was time to call it a night. We spent the day touring the city of Galway. Galway is a harbour city on Ireland's west coast, which sits where the River Corrib meets the Atlantic Ocean. The city's hub is 18th century Eyre Square, a popular meeting spot surrounded by shops and traditional pubs that often offer live Irish folk music.
In the early morning, a sharp factory horn called the women from the wreckage, the poor and the poor, while the men on the knoll lay upon her road, and children and praised
I enjoyed my conversation with the street busker. Later we had lunch at Sonny Malloy's. We met some wonderful people from Chicago. We continued to tour the streets of Old Galway. The message on the sidewalk was direct and to the point. We relaxed for a few scenic moments at the marina. Later that night, we enjoyed some drinks at Crane's Bar, then finished the evening with some takeout pizza. Yum. Day 13 turned out to be a lucky one. An overcast morning turned into a bright, sunshiny day as I took a boat ride to the Aran Islands and the cliffs of Moher.
Near tall towers where falcons build their nests, silver winged they fly.
Sadly, Jackie gets seasick, so she stayed behind and toured the city of Galway while I was gone.
Saw black head again
the sky with twisted rocks, they run down to the sea.
Back on the boat, I was excited as we were soon approaching Inishmore Island, the largest of the 3 Aran Islands.
Asked for more, stood by your Atlantic Sea, and sang.
We docked at Inishmore, and I got my first view of the village there. Meanwhile, Jackie was still in Galway, checking out all the sights that we had missed the day before.
Friends try and make a stay.
Back here on the island, I declined a jaunting cart ride and walked up to the bar where I had lunch. Afterwards, I rented a bike to ride up to Donegassa. You could only ride the bike so far. You had to take a hiking trail up the hill the rest of the way. Donegassa is the best known of several prehistoric hill forts on the Aran Islands. It lies on Inishmore at the edge of a 100-meter high cliff. It is not known exactly when Donegassa was built, though it is thought that most of the structures date from the Bronze Age and the Iron Age. Excavations at the site indicate that the first construction goes back to 1100 BC. The views from atop the hill were more than spectacular.
Old pubs where fiddlers love to play. Someone
I couldn't help but lay down and take video from the edge of the cliff to the water below.
real that seems so grand and gay. Stood up
Time to head back down the trail and ride back to the village.
in wild foam and found Atlantic Pass, living on your west.
It was a perfect day with perfect views for a bike ride.
Asked for more, stood by your Atlantic Sea, and sang a song for Ireland. Dreaming in light,
Back in the village, I boarded the ferry. Off to the cliffs of Moher we go.
has to fight, but waking in the dawn.
After passing a couple of the smaller Aran Islands, we soon found our way to the cliffs. The cliffs of Moher are sea cliffs located at the southwestern edge of the Burren region in County Clare, Ireland. They run for about 9 miles. At their southern end, they rise 390 feet above the Atlantic Ocean at Hag's Head, and 5 miles to the north, they reach their maximum height of 702 feet just north of O'Brien's Tower, a round stone tower near the midpoint of the cliffs built in 1835. The cliffs rank among the most visited tourist sites in Ireland, with about 1.5 million visits per year. It was soon time to say goodbye to the cliffs and head on back to Galway. I had one final visit to the marina. I then met up with Jackie and we had dinner once again at Donnelly's. Good night. It's time to say goodbye to Galway and head north to Westport by way of Kylemore Abbey. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
On Raglan Road of an autumn day, I saw her first and knew that her dark hair would weave a snare that I might one day rule. I saw the danger.
Located just over an hour from Galway City, Kylemore Abbey is one of Ireland's top tourist attractions. Kylemore Castle was built in the late 1800s by Mitchell Henry, a wealthy businessman and liberal politician. Inspired by his love for his wife Margaret and his hopes for his beloved Ireland, Henry created an estate boasting all the innovations of the modern age. An enlightened landlord and vocal advocate of Irish people, Henry poured his life energy into creating an estate that would showcase what could be achieved in the remote wilds of Connemara. Today, Kylemore Abbey is owned and run by the Benedictine community, who have been in residence here since 1920. Kylemore Abbey boasts the largest walled gardens in all of Ireland.
The Queen of Hearts still making tarts, and I not making hay. Oh, I love too much, and by such is happiness thrown away. I gave her gifts of the mind, I gave her the secret sign.
Just down the path from the gardens is a Gothic church.
The true gods of sound and stone.
Saying goodbye to Kylemore Abbey, we stopped and had lunch at the Seafarer Bar and Restaurant. Soon we were on our way to Westport.
I gave her poems to say, with her own name there, and her own dark hair, like clouds.
We arrived in Westport and checked in to the Mulberry Lodge B&B.
On a quiet street where old ghosts meet.
We took a short, rainy walk into town, checked out a few sights, and stopped at the West Bar and Restaurant for dinner.
The clay blue.
After enjoying the pause that refreshes, we sat and contemplated what we would do tomorrow. Good night. The weather in the morning was a little bit nicer, so we decided to take a little stroll through town, spend a little more time there before we hit the road again. We found a little hiking trail that ran alongside the canal, had a pretty bridge there, and we stopped to take some photos.
Without a single word to say.
Back in town, Jackie decided she wanted some donuts for the road. Soon it was time to hit the road for Leitrim.
She always wanted more than
it turned out to be yet another pretty drive.
And she wasn't happy with the way we lived. I could
Before long, we arrived at our Blue Way Lodge and B&B. I unloaded the car, and we checked into our quaint little room. It had a nice view from our front window. Just up the road, we went to a hiking trail that was recommended by the host of our B&B. We wound up doing both trails, but we started on the Ferry Fort Trail.
Perhaps if we'd have talked, he might have seen something in me.
It was very short, so soon we were on the Canal Trail.
For to tell the truth, I didn't have the nerve.
It was a bit of a steep hike, but it was worth it because we got some good photo ops and some great views. Afterwards, we drove into the main village there, and of course, Jackie found yet another church.
Her father didn't like me any.
We continued to wander through town, checking out the different sites. There was a grass tennis court, and soon we found ourselves next to a cool canal.
That book I gave her that she never read. She left without a single word to say. And her father didn't.
We checked out the rest of the town and soon found ourselves back to the B&B. The car park behind it offered some fantastic views. That's all for now.
Hey, there's even a hint of sunshine today. But give it 10 minutes and it'll be raining. Just another town along the way.
Today we're heading into Northern Ireland to the city of Portrush by way of Londonderry. O'Donnell's Irish cider vinegar and sea salt. Yummy!
Now we're in the town of Lifford.
Crossing over the river into Northern Ireland.
This is some scenery in Northern Ireland. Going into Londonderry.
Londonderry, or Derry, is the second largest city in Northern Ireland and the fifth largest city on the island of Ireland. The old walled city lies on the west bank of the River Foyle. Derry is the only remaining completely intact walled city in Ireland and one of the finest examples of a walled city in Europe. The walls constitute the largest monument in state care in Northern Ireland, and as part of the last walled city to be built in Europe, stand as the most complete and spectacular. The walls were built in 1613 through 1619. Time to head on up the road to Portrush. Jackie and I found Northern Ireland to be just as beautiful as the Republic of Ireland. Arriving in Portrush, we were delayed getting to our B&B because of a motorcycle race that had the streets closed off. Once the streets were opened back up, we arrived at the Lark Hill House Bed and Breakfast. We were well accommodated there. Our hostess even did our laundry for us. Wow. A short rainy walk into town brought us to the Keys restaurant where we had a lovely dinner. Afterwards, the rain had let up. We took a leisurely stroll past the amusement area and down to the beach.
Here is Fred walking. Somehow we found this boardwalk.
So as the sun sinks in the west, we bid you a fond good evening.
way to the Giant's Causeway.
In spite of the rain, we stopped at a gorgeous overlook on the way to take some snapshots.
It's Dunluce Castle over there.
And your feather bed.
We were hoping for the skies to clear, and soon enough it did. The Giant's Causeway in the far north of Ireland is a legendary place of rare beauty, a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1986. This land bridge of giants attracts thousands of tourists every year and has inspired world-famous works of art.
Across the hill, the sun has gone astray. Tomorrow's cares are many dreams away. The stars are flying, your candles dying.
The trail along the cliffs above offered spectacular views.
To old John, the dreams yield up the darkness to old John.
Here's Fred going up to the very point. This place may be better than the Cliffs of Moher, because the walk itself is just beautiful.
Both man and master in the night are one. Some things are equal when the day is done. The prince and the plowman, the slave, the free man.
There were steps leading down to the trail below, which we decided to negotiate.
Here's Fred going down some of the freaking steepest steps. Ay, 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 ay.
You know, John, dreams.
The origin of the countless hexagonal basalt columns resulted from volcanic eruptions. The characteristic shape of the basalt columns was created by the very slow and regular cooling of the hot lava. The trail below led to a point where we were able to stop and take some more photographs.
Flow on forever. And for your boatman, choose old John dreams.
When we were done, we had a fantastic lunch at the Causeway Hotel.
Of dreams. Oh, Sullivan's John.
Well, we're leaving the Giant's Causeway, going on to the rope bridge. It has a longer name, but I don't know what it
You've
is.
gone with the tinker's daughter all along the road to Rome. Oh, Sullivan's John, you won't stick it long.
We arrived at the Carrick-a-Reedy rope bridge. We took a hilly trail along the cliffs that offered some spectacular views.
I met Kate Coffee with her neat baby behind on her back strapped on. She'd an owlash plant all in her hand for to drive the old donkey along. Inquiring in every farmhouses along the road she passed. Oh, it's where would she get an old pot for to mend, and where would she get?
This rope bridge links the mainland to the tiny island of Carrick-a-Reedy. It spans 20 meters and is 30 meters above the rocks below.
There's a hairy ass fair in the county Clare, in a place they call Spancel Hill.
Once across onto the island, we took a few photos and took a few minutes to sit down and relax.
To kill. They loaded him up in an old lass and carters along the road to go. Oh, bad luck to the day I roved away for to join with the Tinker Band. Oh, Sullivan.
Once we got back across, Jackie had to sit down and reflect upon her harrowing experience crossing the bridge. Ain't that a hole in the boat?
Daughter, all along the road to Rome. Oh, Sullivan.
We wanted to check out Dunluce Castle on the way back, but it was closed.
Soon be slack up along.
Once back in Portrush, we took a few moments to walk around and check out some more sights. Of course, Jackie had to take pictures of more churches. We made it down to the marina and took one last photograph to end the day. See you tomorrow.
We just left Portrush, now we're on our way to Belfast. And the sky is not looking good today.
Last night as I lay dreaming of pleasure.
Today we leave Portrush and head on down the road for Belfast and then our B&B in Comber.
A little more scenery.
I stepped on board a vision.
We were hoping for good weather, but so far, not so good.
When next I came to anchor at the cross and span.
Belfast East. On our way to the Titanic Experience, Belfast style.
To see what they might say.
We arrived at the Titanic Experience Museum in Belfast, which was much more comprehensive than the one in Cove. It was very crowded, and we didn't take many photos. There was much to see there. A mock-up of a first-class stateroom, a recovered violin that was played on the deck of the Titanic the night it sank, and Jackie got to be Queen of the World. All in all, it was a wonderful experience that I would recommend to anyone that's interested in the history of the Titanic. Now it's on to Comber and our B&B. Once again, there were road closures and we had to take back roads to get to our destination. After an adventurous drive, we finally wound up at an old converted schoolhouse that they had turned into a B&B. The accommodations were comfortable and it had a nice dining room.
Right of Spansel Hill, I dreamt I held and kissed.
Sadly, we were out in the middle of nowhere with not much around and not much to do that evening. We drove around a bit.
Here we are in the back roads again when we came across some water, at least.
He grew both loud and shrill. I awoke in California, many miles from Spansel Hill.
Found the Poacher's Pocket, where we had a nice dinner and a couple of nightcaps. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have as nice a weather as we had this afternoon. We'll find out.
A long time ago when the earth was green and it was more.
With no real plans for the day and some mighty sore legs, we just decided to go out and have fun with whatever we found.
Was the unicorn. There was green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-backed camels and some chimpanzees, some cats and rats and elephants, but sure as you're born, the loveliest of all was the unicorn. Now God seen some sinning and it gave him pain, and he says, stand back, I'm going to make it rain. He says, hey brother Noah, I'll tell you what to do. Build me a floating zoo and take some of them green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees, some cats and rats and elephants, but sure as you're born, don't you forget my unicorn. Old Noah was there to answer the call. He finished up making the ark just as the rain started falling. He marched in the animals 2 by 2, and he called out as they went through, "Hey Lord, I got you green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees, some cats and rats and elephants, but Lord, I'm so forlorn, I just can't see no unicorn." Then Noah looked out through the driving rain. Them unicorns were hiding, playing silly games, kicking and splashing while the rain was pouring. Oh, them silly unicorns. There was green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees. Noah cried, "Close the door, 'cause the rain is pouring, and we just can't wait for no unicorn."
Today will be our last full day in Ireland. We're driving to the town of Swords.
This night there'll be but three.
This is another town called Dromore. Funny, it looks like all the other ones.
And Mary Carmichael and me. Oh, little did my mother think when first she craved me.
We just crossed over the border into the Republic of Ireland.
Back to euros, not pounds.
Or hang in the gallows tree. They'll tie a napkin round.
We arrived at the San Augustine B&B, where we were met with comfortable but small accommodations.
And they'll never let on to my father and mother.
We strolled into town and encountered a strange sculpture along the way.
Last night there were for Mary.
There was a park there we decided to take a lazy walk through.
There was Mary Seton and Mary.
We couldn't figure out if that bird was real or just a statue. There was a castle right next to the park that, of course, we had to explore. It had a very nice chapel there with stone walls, quite scenic. Outside the chapel, we decided that we would explore the tower. We trudged up the spiral staircase and discovered a cozy little room up there.
Old churchyard beneath the old yew tree, where we pulled.
Back outside, we explored the stone wall walkway and enjoyed scenes of the park below. Just across the street from the castle was the town of Swords that we walked through and enjoyed.
Eternity. So I pray that the faith of the dying thief may be granted.
We had a fabulous rib dinner at the Arch Bar. Apparently, children are allowed in the bars or pubs up until about 9 o'clock at night. Next was a final stroll through the town.
There was Mary Seton and Mary Keith and Mary Carmichael and
Good morning.
fabulous morning, a little gray and drizzly here in Sword Island, Sword spelled with a W. Getting ready to pack up our last day here and drive to the airport and fly on home. Be good to see everybody. Love you all and can't wait to tell you about our trip. See you soon.